guys, this is Lord Chael speaking on behalf of our show sponsor, Established Titles. Established Titles is a project based on a historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lords and ladies. They allow you to buy as little as 1 square foot of dedicated land so you can officially call yourself a lord or lady. Established Titles is not just about your ego. You also get to do some good. In addition to your new fancy title, Established Titles supports global charities like One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future to help with their afforestation efforts. Your title pack gives you at least 1 square foot of dedicated land on a private estate in Scotland, and your official certificate proves your title, as well as your unique plot number where you can see the exact location of your land. If you're looking for a fun, last-minute gift this holiday season, this is a great way to surprise a loved one. Who doesn't want to become an official lord? Getting the certificate even allows you to officially change your name to Lord or Lady. Put it on your credit cards, plane tickets, or if you're so inclined, put it on your dating profiles. Established Titles is having a great limited time sale. Go to establishedtitles.com/Chael and save 10% off today. Remember to use the promo code Chael or just click on the link below. All right, guys, I got to talk to you about Conor. Now, if you've been following the program, I'm in a little bit of a back and forth with Conor, maybe. I don't know. I fair and square gave Conor my terms, which is just back out the door now. Do not bring this up again. Let the whole thing go. That's still what I said. Now, whether I said that as my high-handed approach, it doesn't matter why I said it. I said it. That's what I put out there, and Conor has laid out. So I have to honor it for my side. And I'm only disclosing this to you because I do like to talk about Conor. But when I talk about Conor right now, for example, it is not tying into a potential beef that I have with Notorious. I just happen to be talking about Conor in the midst of all this, and I say it only because, let me ask you a question, okay? Very tough. So I had to give that disclaimer because here's my question. You're going to think this is a shot. It's not. It's a conversation, and here's what it is. Has Poirier showed us all how goddamn good he is by destroying Conor McGregor twice? Has he? Or did Poirier beat up a broken down old fighter with a coke habit? And that's not for us to know right now. I'm looking into the future. We believe, the fellow fighters in the industry believe, Justin Gaethje himself believes, Michael Chandler believes that Dustin Poirier is going to capture the world championship in a couple of weeks. They believe he's going to beat Oliveira. But let's say he doesn't. Let's say the champ remains the champ and Oliveira shows us all he is the best in the world. Period. Right now he's the best in the world, but to put a period, right, to defend the belt, to go through Dustin Poirier, very different conversation. You're going to view Charles Oliveira very differently. But let's say Oliveira does. All of a sudden, we are instantly going to question what it is that Poirier did against Conor. And it's not going to look bad for Poirier. It's going to look bad for Conor. If Oliveira goes through Poirier, we are then going to look that Poirier went through, right? We're going to do MMA math. A equals B, B equals C, A must equal C. We do it all the time, but we're going to do it in this case, and it's going to reflect. The reflection is going to be different. I'm just proposing for you, what would it be? And I've seen this in the sport. There was no way around this. It's wildly unfair. Well, so what? Lots of things are unfair. That's sport, right? That's life. It's wildly unfair, and I've seen the story goes both ways, right? I mean, you talk about people that want to have their cake and eat it too. Floyd Mayweather fought Canelo Alvarez. Floyd Mayweather was old. Floyd Mayweather was 36 years old. I'm making this up, but I'm close. He was 35 years old. He was by no historical means within the prime of his career. He would have been on the back end. Canelo was 21. Canelo is Oscar De La Hoya's chosen boy at the time. Canelo is going to beat Floyd Mayweather. Not only did Canelo not beat him, Canelo got his ass kicked. It was not a competitive match. Now, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but I believe it was 10 rounds to 2. Please don't go look that up and then correct me, because if this fight was in Nevada, by example, it doesn't matter what those scorecards said. I'm telling you, Floyd won 10 rounds and Canelo won 2. It was dominant. But the story the next day did not continue with the narrative that led into that fight, which is Floyd is older and this is the new guy. The story the very next day took away from Floyd, said Canelo was just too young. The lights were just too bright. He just didn't have enough experience. Now, nobody in the history of fighting has ever taken away from the older athlete. Never. Until this happened to Floyd. You had so many Floyd haters that wanted to come out and say, well, Canelo was just too young. That is the way the story is told to this day. If you try to talk about a prime Floyd and a prime Canelo, which would be a right now Canelo, people will tell you the story that this Canelo beats that Floyd, even though when they fought, it was 10-2. Canelo looked slow. He looked like molasses moving uphill. That's how much Floyd took him apart. And speed really does matter. It's one of the things that you lose first. One day you will wake up. You're just not as fast. You're just not. Floyd made Canelo look slow. It was very uncompetitive. It was very hard to, and there's two different Canelos, right? Canelo at 21 hadn't got on the juice yet. The enhanced Canelo, now, I get it. I see those things, but Floyd has taken plenty of juiced out guys, and Floyd has been in the crosshairs of the commissions himself. People love to rewrite that part of the story, but Nevada and Osada went head to head over the violations of Floyd. Floyd came out clean. I know how the story went. But he was in the crosshairs. My point being, things will always be rewritten when history goes on. And I've seen this happen to really great fighters. I have seen absolutely great fighters have championships and lose them. And all of a sudden, people start to call into question everything that they did. This happened to the great Rich Franklin when he lost to Anderson Silva. When Anderson Silva lost the belt, Anderson's career then got called into question. Did he take on the right guys? What were the record of these guys? It starts to get weird. And I'm only suggesting for you that I still know, not I believe, not I submit for you, I know, I can tell you for sure, the biggest draw in this sport is Conor McGregor. Whatever happens between Poirier and Oliveira, the biggest star in the sport is going to be Conor McGregor. But anything that goes up can only come down. Conor's career also will come down. And one day he'll wake up and he'll be the third biggest draw in the sport. And then he'll be the fourth, and then he'll be out of the sport. It's just the life. It's the life that he has in front of him. It's the life that every fighter will have. It's the fight every basketball player and all of you have. We have our better days, and then we go out. And if we would have known that ahead of time, we would have stopped doing it before. But we're the last ones to know. It's going to happen to Conor, and I'm only submitting for you. How bad is it going to look if Poirier loses to Oliveira, particularly if Poirier gets his ass kicked? This is an if. This is an if. I'm not making a prediction for you now. That will come. Poirier gets ran over, defeated, two different things by Oliveira. It is quickly in your minds going to change when you know the beating that Poirier, not once but twice, put on Conor. What does that do to Conor's return? What's it do? He will still be the biggest star. When I tell you that Conor's only going to go down, you can come down when you're that damn high. Conor can come down a lot and still be the best, but we do see this happen. Look, it's happening with Jon Jones right now. And all I'm arguing for you with the Conor, all I'm suggesting for you, is it's just a cycle. It's just a perception with the fans. Conor is no better or no worse. A reflection of a contest between Poirier and Oliveira has nothing to do with Conor. But the psychology of the fan and of the pundit will change. So I want you to be aware of that. I want you to be aware of it before this happens. But Jon Jones has not fought. To make believe that Jon Jones is any worse or any better is just that. It's make believe. We have to go on the data that we have. And all the data that we have is Jon Jones has had his hand raised against everybody we've ever seen him fight. But he went from the number one pound for pound fight. He's down to number 4. Not he's down to number 2. Not he's down to he went from 1 to 4. He largely did that. But nobody wants to admit it. He largely did that by insulting the rankings room. Whatever room they go in, however many people, however the rankings are done, which none of us have ever been disclosed, and I submit for you, we never will be told how these come out. Whatever happened, though, Jon called their list silly. Jon said, remove me from the list. Jon insulted the rankings, and they listened. And the human factor kicked in, and without losing, Jon lost 3 spots. What? How does that work? Without being defeated in the ring, he falls through. Well, yeah, and you know what? He'll never get him back. If you were ever a top guy, you're ever number one, and you go to number 4, you will never get back to number 1. And you can't show me an example in history where that isn't true. You go from 1 to 4 to 7. You're never going from 7 to 4, and you will never get back to number 1. Now, is that fair when Jon hasn't lost? All I'm speaking to is the psychology. That's the only point I'm trying to prove right now. The psychology within people's minds. Not seeing Jon in there, getting a fresh introduction to Kamaru Usman, having a new open mind, and Kamaru all of a sudden can do on his feet as well as what he did on the ground. Boom, he's number 1 in the world. I support that ranking. Kamaru Usman is the greatest fighter alive. I support that ranking. But is that just because I forgot? I mean, don't I have to see something from Jon Jones that shows that he slipped? Don't I? Or even if I get a brand new face, that's a new piece, right? You look at how well Chimaev is doing in the rankings, not the ones done that we're not told about, we only read about every Tuesday at 8 a.m., our rankings, our minds. This is a new fresh face. The guy from out of town wearing the white shirt always knows the most. Guys, I see this on a personal level in coaching. I'm a very good coach, in all fairness. I am surrounded by very good coaches. By example, we do a great job with the kids. The kids love us. The program doing wonderfully. If we bring in a coach from out of town who has never been in the room before, and our kids do not know, when we introduce him to those kids, his face will change. Their jaws will drop. They'll want to know everything that this new guy has. There's just something about that. The new guy from out of town with the white shirt knows the most. This used to happen in villages where a guy would literally ride into town on horseback and start selling you whatever it was, preaching whatever it was, and people would gather around. This was the new guy. And there is some benefit that Chimaev is seeing from that, possibly. Or he's just this goddamn good, right? Possibly, though. Is at least an excitement within our minds. And I'm only submitting for you in advance what happens between Poirier and Oliveira is going to be a reflection on Conor. Because not for nothing, as much as I want to come and tell you, Poirier stomped him out. Those were hard fights. Poirier took some knockout punches, particularly in their second fight. The first of this new era, but in their second fight, which was in Fight Island, Poirier hit Conor McGregor. The other way around, Conor hit Poirier with the same shot that put Poirier out the first time. It was a shock when Poirier could take it. And you could even see that surprise on Poirier's face. After Poirier took it, after he flinched, after he opened his eyes, after he realized, I'm still here. That shot's not going to get any harder, and I just took it. That's when the momentum of that fight changed. And that was the big question that we all needed to see. Can Conor still land it? Does he still have it? Can Poirier take it because he couldn't before? I'm only reminding you guys of this. Because if Poirier goes out there and not only beats Oliveira, runs through him. Poirier might have had quick matches with Conor McGregor, but those were not easy matches. Poirier had to work in both of those. I don't know off the top of my... They only completed 1 round in their 2 fights. 1 completed round. I would have to go back. But Poirier might have won it. I apologize. Conor McGregor might have won it. I don't know. He might have won it. I remember it. I remember Poirier got a takedown and it probably stole the round. But the fact of the matter is they have 1 completed round. They've done 3 fights. They have 1 completed round. And Conor might have won it. So it was a lot more competitive than if you just go look at the records and see that Poirier dusted him up twice. It was a lot more competitive than that. And Poirier's MMA math, Poirier's performance with Oliveira, what happens, how it happens, who it happens for, and the domination factor, how close is it, is going to directly reflect, perception-wise, Conor McGregor.